by the grace of God and everything good on this earth, we are here with you today. And we are going to talk about companion planting in your fall garden, which I know everybody wants to hear about.
To have a good harvest, one must plant good seeds and must also use the right kind of fertilizer. The carrots have grown large and firm. How good they will taste.
Welcome to the Backyard Gardens podcast, where we talk about all things gardening and give the information out for you to be successful in your garden, whether it's your first or your last. We are your hosts, Ben, the backyard gardener, and
Batavia, the front yard gardener.
one in the country,
One in the city.
Now get ready as we dig deep into this wonderful world of gardening as we learn to grow and grow for change. Are you tired of thinking about fall gardening, Batavia?
I'm just warming up to it, so not quite yet.
Just getting in the mode?
Yeah, it's taken me a little bit of prayer, a lot of focus, a lot of seed review. But yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, let's do this then.
All right.
So, do you have any, as you would put it, housekeeping items?
I think the only item is a word of encouragement to start us off. No matter what state your summer garden is in, don't let that influence you and discourage you from planting a fall garden.
Amen, sister. Amen. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Because it's true. Because it's one of those things, and we may have talked about this in the last podcast. If not, if we did, sorry. But it is easy when you are going through your summer garden, you're like, oh, everything's doing so well. And then guess what happens? That's all she wrote. So I think that's a legit thing to say. So I approve.
There it is.
But yeah, so companion planting, what is it? Why do we do it? Basically, in a nutshell, to keep it kind of simple as this can be, because it can be pretty complicated.
Yeah.
It's planting two plants together that would benefit each other. So be it diseases, insects, you name it, there's all kinds of things. So, and we're going to go back and forth like we usually do a little bit. But the focus is fall gardening. So we're not really going to say like, plant your tomatoes and your peppers together, because we're past that. Unless you're lucky enough and you live in Texas or Florida or something like that. But sorry, guys, we can't bend everything to you.
Yeah. I know that's the way you want the world to be, but sorry, I can't do it here. Not on this episode, at least. So.
Yeah. So what is it? Kick us off.
All right. So I have my list here because I had to study for this one. Because companion planting, I finally come along the lines and said, I believe in it. I believe it's a thing. I believe that it's effective. But
really?
I want to, finally. Like I just, let's focus on the list first before we get into the naysayer version of me. So I'm going to go with a easy one, I think, and say cabbage and spinach play well together, and both are fall veggies. And depending on the spinach you're growing, you may be able to tuck some spinach in around some cabbage as well. Although spinach can get kind of tall, but almost use it as like a weed barrier of sorts. Yeah,
that's
spinach
an important
mulch.
one.
Yeah,
that's an important one because cabbage is actually pretty difficult to companion plant with. So, anything you can stick around cabbage, I would jump all over it because you got that cabbage worm. So
it's a greedy one too. Yeah,
it is. So I'm going to go with, you're in summer and you're planting, and let's say you have bush beans and you want to plant, but you want to plant your fall. So I'm going to go with cabbage again. Cabbage, well, actually, for bush beans, I'll give you the ones that are companion. That's for fall. It's cabbage and cauliflower are the ones that really play well together. So carrots too, but in all reality, they should already be planted. So if you're already practicing companion planting, then that's going to go well together too.
Yeah. Your carrots should already be in the ground before your fall planting is what you're saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and on the other hand too, like if you have any onions in the ground already or something like that and you're waiting, don't plant near those. So, you know, and onions are a weird one too, because they seem like they would play well, but they don't.
Yeah, they have. I mean, there's some selfishness around the onion.
You know what I say about the onion? The onion's a little bitch. It just makes everybody mad. You know,
yeah, man.
Just
but sometimes there are folks that really enjoy it. So that's the trouble with it all, right?
It is true. It is true. Yeah. And so I wanted, before we move on to, and I want your opinion on this. Do you think that companion planting is right next to each other or in the same bed?
Oh, okay. I think if you would have said proximity, I would have just said near. So I don't think it's in separate beds, but I don't think it needs to be kind of plant 1, then plant 2.
Right.
Now I'm also thinking about smaller beds. So if you have a 20-foot long bed, putting you know, cabbage on one end and spinach on another end isn't really companion planting. They need to be able to share the same kind of soil area, if you will. The kind of above ground veggies need to be in some type of proximity, you know. Right.
Well, that's one of the things too, is like, well, first of all, if you're new to the show, we primarily focus on smaller gardens.
Yeah.
So if you have a 20 by 50 bed, that's awesome. Yeah. You know, a lot of us have the same amount of space. Well, maybe not that much, but we have it broken up into different beds. Mm-hmm. And I agree with you too. I don't think it really needs to be super close, but at the same time, like I go back and forth, like, should my onions and my cabbage be in the same bed? You know, and I don't think they should.
I think it depends on what the purpose or the benefit of the companion planting is. So if it's insects, right? You know, if one plant is warding off the insects of another, then it should be in closer proximity. You know, right. Where if it's, you know, you have some, and I don't know that this is companion planting, but, you know, beneficial plants. Like we talk about marigolds, different subject, but marigolds.
That's
like
companion.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, companion planting for flowers, or flowers and veggies or whatever. But you don't have to have a vegetable plant than a marigold right there, right? You know, so it didn't have to be that close, if you will. I don't think so.
But on the same token, like, you know how my beds are, you know, I have a bed and then I have a 2-foot space and I have another bed. I don't think that if I had onions on the end of my bed that I would put my bush beans or my cabbages right there on the other side, because even though it's not in the same bed, it's still very close to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is a difficult thing because it's all about the planning.
Yeah.
You know, plan it and execute it.
That's the reason, because you have the combination of you may be planting in a row or two that's like fresh, nothing's there, or you may be planting around veggies that are already there as well, right? So while we're talking about what works and plays well together, what are companions, you also have to think about planting around the space you already have, you know, and that you may already be growing in, you know, so.
Shoot us off with another one. Give us one.
I'm gonna go lettuce and anything. No.
That's cheating. Cheater, pumpkin eater.
No. I'm gonna go lettuce and let's get a little bit wild and crazy. Radishes.
Lettuce and radishes.
Yeah.
Any reason why, or?
Just because I had a vision of them looking really pretty together. Well, in most cases, radishes are a shorter season. As the weather gets cooler, you know, you have to be, you know, keep that in mind, where things that would grow in the summer on a faster pace, you have less light as we get into the fall season. So you have to keep that in mind. But still speaking, radishes have a shorter window from kind of dropping the seed to harvest.
Right.
And that lettuce is probably going to be there a bit longer. So it also gives you an opportunity to harvest that spinach and then drop some more lettuce seeds if your timing is good.
So I'm going to go, my next one is going to be broccoli and Brussels sprouts. And then you can also put those near carrots if they're already in the ground, and onions if you have them in too. So those can go together. So
I feel like broccoli and Brussels sprouts I kind of think about like almost as such a similar vegetable. So it's nice to hear that they really play well together.
Yeah, well, see, and that's the interesting thing too is if they play well together, you would think. Like, because they're so similar, you would think you wouldn't want them really to be close because maybe the same kind of insect would be attracted to that. But, that's not the case. So, and Brussels, Yeah, opposites attract. Yeah. So, and Brussels sprouts are another one. It's either Brussels sprouts or broccoli that are difficult. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they both can be, one of them can be kind of difficult to plant with others. So, or no, I'm sorry. As Brussels sprouts don't really have that many companions, not necessarily anything bad, but they don't have anything that's like, oh, you should plant your Brussels sprouts here. You know what I mean? So,
so when it comes to Brussels sprouts, though, isn't that the veggie that's given you?
I don't want to talk about it. We're not talking about that.
So let me ask it as a brand new question.
Try again.
How long does it take to plant and grow Brussels sprouts? Like, do I have enough time with a frost date of October 28th or 29th? Do I have enough time to put that in my fall garden?
Right now.
It's like 100 days from now, from seed?
Right now.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you really literally have to do it now. It's but we're not talking about Brussels sprouts and me anymore.
And just to clarify, now would be the point of recording in mid-July.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you're listening, I think
this comes out pretty soon, though.
Yeah, but if you're listening to this and you're like, "Oh, I missed the date," go get some starts. Go get some starts and try it out. Whatever.
Yeah.
Ain't no shame in that game.
Absolutely
go
not.
out there
Absolutely
and get
not.
them. So
although my I may have to. I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. The garden community is speaking to me. So my cabbage, they're struggling a little bit. So I grew cabbage for the first time last year, bought starter plants, planted them in June. They grew up to be really big, beautiful cabbage. Went and bought starter plants for cabbage this year, planted them in June. I'm not so sure.
Is it hotter this year?
I couldn't say one way or another. We did get a really like a hot 7 or 8 days, like 90 degrees plus.
That's all it takes. So
I'm going to start some indoors. I can't remember the placement of these episodes. I don't know when you're going to hear what, but I'm just going to plainly say I'm going to start them indoors. You may hear another episode at some point, either prior to this one or after this one, where you turn your head and say, really? So both things can be true. But yeah, my plan is to start them indoors because I still need to get some success under starting the cabbage indoors. So
yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, I kind of don't want to think about my garden without cabbage. But to your point, I can go out and buy starts. But we're starting to get into a funky kind of period when it comes to what the stores have. What's available, whether it's flowers, whether it's, vegetables. I went to 2 or 3 big box stores yesterday, because it's a favorite pastime. They didn't have vegetable plants at all. One of the two had herbs.
Yeah, they're having a lot of herbs here and tomatoes and stuff like that. They do a lot of that all summer here, but otherwise, it's dying down, which is good though, because now that things are starting to happen, and if you're excited like I am about doing a fall garden, then be ready to pounce.
Yeah. I actually, I'm gonna take us there because why not? I have some spaces where I planted some peppers that were uber small, and they are not getting bigger. And a good buddy of mine, and also a garden pal of mine, has been preaching, if you want to be productive, you got to make some tough decisions. And sometimes that includes pulling plants. So with the time
Who
I
would
have,
say such an asshole thing to say?
I don't know. I'm struggling with it. I feel like
Is it male or female?
The person, male. I feel like if I name the person, that he could be stoned, even like virtually stoned. So I'm trying to protect him, you know, his image and his person. No,
that ship sailed hard, boy. That ship sailed hard and it hit a rock and it sank.
I'm throwing rocks and hide my hands. No, in all seriousness, Ben has talked like for months now, both on the podcast, in his YouTube videos, in our phone conversations, in my nightmares, like he's been talking about, you know, taking steps to ensure that you have a productive garden. And one of those is making decisions. If something isn't doing well, you don't see a recovery path. You know, one of those, the versions and recommendations is to pull it. So I have a few different pepper plants that didn't have like really a fighting chance to begin with. And they are in areas that just don't seem to be serving them well in the garden. So I have already eyeballed them. I brought it up to say I've already eyeballed them to, I'm basically going to have to start stuff, some of my fall stuff in those spaces. So yank the pepper plant. But I think it's important that I actually start with starter plants, because remember, they're around tomatoes. So there's that balance of how big those tomato plants are and how small whatever I'm planting is going to be. So I'm going to not start much in there with seeds, and I'm hoping to have some starts from my grow room that we can drop in. We'll see.
For fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm letting the peppers, you know, we'll see. I mean, I think it's really a wrap. They're at the size now where you really wouldn't even transplant them. So we have basically 100 days left. So, I mean, they have time to get to optimal size, but I'm not going to get a bunch of peppers off of them. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. You're just growing them for vegetation at that point, you know? Yep. And chances are you could probably use a little bit extra room in that bed, if I'm not mistaken. Like if you lost a couple plants, it'd be okay.
Absolutely be okay.
Yeah.
You know, but the sucky part, again, off topic of companion planting, is I ended up dropping those particular pepper plants and I don't have them planted anywhere else. So it's going to just basically be, all right, I'll give that a try next season. But, you know, again,
well, that's how it goes, you know. And first of all, right off course, but no, I mean, seriously, there's nothing wrong with that. And, you know, I had a little sign in my first garden. I don't know where I got it from. Doesn't matter. But it said, leave space for the angels to play in your garden. You know what I mean? And it's true, though, because if you don't have space, you are going to have issues that you don't want.
Yeah.
And it's like this fine line, you know, because like when I close my eyes, I think of like a garden that's just like packed brim to brim, nothing but like you can't even see the bottom. And I don't, and I know I've been doing the square foot gardening thing. I am not in on that aspect of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on it, man.
The packing
it in, you know, I pad things. I give a little bit extra space.
Yeah.
Because airflow is so important. So important. You know, I mean, think about it this way. If you go outside on a hot day, as we all do, because we're gardeners, you know, hell, I was out there. I tried to film my second part of my garden tour video, which you haven't seen the first one. You should check it out on YouTube, Backyard Gardener. But I went out there today and it was so hot that I was just like, I got to stop. You know, I couldn't see, sweats in my face. My shirt's drenched. The sun was beating down. I was like, I got to stop, you know? And that's cool though. But you have to think about it the same way. All I have to do is lift my arms up and I get a breeze, right? But if a plant can't do that and you got them packed in, they're going to get hot. Yeah. And they're not going to get airflow and they're going to get mildew and all kinds of other stuff. So I'm not sold on that stuff, man. I'm not.
Well, I'm not going to form an opinion around square foot gardening from that perspective, but I can say that I have in the front yard garden done the same old thing, pack shit in, you know. The backyard garden, I was more respectful of the spacing.
Right.
I'll have to actually make notes specifically around spacing. Because if you don't make notes, your mind will play tricks on you. We've talked about this before. I was looking and I have, 7 square feet. 7 square feet. And I think I have 5 collard green plants in it. And they're not
that's
even
a lot.
They're not even full size, right? But still, that's not, it's like 18 inches apart or something. But I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna have to get to harvesting because they're gonna they're not even half of their actual size. They're kind of full maturity size. So the note I have to make is like 3 plants probably would have been just right if not stretching it in those 7 square feet of space,
Well, like, here's a proven fact. If you overpack stuff, the plants that you have are not going to produce as much as they could. They're just not going to do it. They're fighting for nutrients. So
another point real quick on that is the space for collards creates a different situation, right? Versus the space for peppers. So this is prime for missing peppers. Things like cucumbers are a great example. We know how cucumbers like to hide, not necessarily a fall veggie, but still like the things that you have to harvest individually from a plant versus like the full plant is what you're harvesting. You can miss, the veggie because you have everything so packed in there. Like you see the first flower and then you see the first, bud of the fruit. Yeah. I have peppers that are like the size of like a silver dollar, right? And it's like, when the hell did that happen?
Right.
Like it's impossible with the number of veggies that I have and how closely I have them together. At this point, it's a sea of green, right? You have to be very diligent and very intentional. And it's a good example of not being able to see if something's wrong with that fruit as well. So,
right.
I guess all in all, space is important. And you also have to consider that bringing it back around. Whoop, doop, 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 doop. That's me turning.
Yeah.
That car has never made that sound.
Mine has.
Mind, that's it. Yeah.
Not the one now, but I've had cars do that.
Yeah. So,
So look. I got to stop you right there. I had a car.
I had to walk. No.
Look, this is some embarrassing shit. So I pulled into a driveway.
Wait, pause. I'm going to guarantee you that your car story is not as bad as the one I'm going to tell afterwards. Go ahead.
So I had a car and I was pulling into I think it was a Wendy's or something, and my buddy was with me. And we pull in, and you know how it's curved to get into the drive-thru?
Yeah.
So we pulled through and it's like, and then there was like something else wrong with it. And I was like ordering, and whenever you idled, it was like, it would rattle real loud. And the lady was like, "Excuse me, sir. Can you please turn off your car so I can hear you?" So embarrassing. I just drove off, left everything. I didn't even care. I was like, I'm done. So yeah, I know about having a crappy car.
Yeah. So my very first car, my grandfather was like, it's so funny, as I became an adult, we'd watch different shows or commercials, and almost every time he'd say, "I used to have one of those." Like just have one of those cars, right? And so at some point I would look at him. He said, "What? I did," right? But anyway, so he, long time, hobby mechanic. And there was always multiple cars. So my very first car was a used 1984, 85 Cadillac DeVille. And
that was a sweet ride.
It was some classy stuff, but like for a 18-year-old, maybe not so much. But anyway, so the car was clean, did a good job at, keeping it in tip-top shape. But my grandfather was very much a man that if something was small, wasn't working, if the rest of it worked, it didn't matter. If you turned the sink on to the hot direction and it was cold water, just turn it the other way if you want hot water, right? Don't spend time trying to fix that. So this car, the heat never went off. And we're not talking about like, oh, that's just, it would come through the vents. We're talking about it piping through the floors.
Yes.
Like I'm squinching my toes now because I can almost feel the heat. So much so, wait, and the windows didn't roll down.
Oh, yes.
Yes. My best girlfriend. I have to call her after this because I know she remembers this. We would get to stoplights and crack the doors to try to get some air.
Yes.
But that wasn't going to stop us from hanging out, right?
No. You don't even need to wear clothes at that point. You just need to roll around.
Yeah. I'm telling you. So
anyways,
let's
we have
get back.
totally gone off. Like, I don't even know what world we're in right now. Back to your regularly scheduled program.
Absolutely.
What were we talking about?
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
I think the subject is companion planting. Oh, space, right? The importance of space. And where we were going to head back to was, you, again, very much have to be conscious of that for two reasons. One, I'd say it's better to underutilize the space. I know, I feel like it's a swear word, than overplanting it. And I am preaching to all of us because I need to continue to hear this lesson. I struggle with it. They're going to be in some instances like the tomato bed. It's a good example. I'm going to have things in the bed that I have tomatoes in, and I'm going to plant fall things. And there's going to be a point where those tomatoes are going to die. That cold's going to hit them. And some of my fall veggies will be able to survive that frost, right? That cold weather, right? So I'm planting them with the idea of the space that they need right in this moment, but the space they'll need over time. There's going to be a point where I should be yanking those tomato plants out. And guess what I have? A bunch more room. So do I plant more? Do I plant less? Do I just say it's the end of the year and just call it what it is? Like, those are the thoughts that go in my head when it comes to spacing, specifically for a fall garden. Luckily, I have one bed. I'm going to answer all these questions. Yeah. Well, luckily, I have one bed that's going to be primarily fall stuff. And I feel really good about that. Because I have 14 beds. We haven't said this in a long time. 1,422. What's the number now?
14,238.
Raised garden beds. No. So 14 beds, 7 in the backyard garden, which is primarily, most of them are the same size. And then 7 in another space that's in front of my house that we don't really talk about because this is the Backyard Gardens podcast. And I have no intention on having all of those beds full for fall gardening. Like, that's not my goal. Because it's too much for me. It's too much. I can't take it.
Why?
I can't take it. I can't take it. Too much. This is my first fall garden. Well, this is going to be my first successful fall garden because I tried it last year.
There it is. There it is.
You see me claiming it?
The tomatoes. I'm starting not to like tomatoes.
There's also the moment of, at what point can I say I've gotten enough tomatoes too?
Thank you. And there's also the thing is, like, what's the deal with tomatoes, man? Why is it the almighty tomato? Have you ever heard the saying, the $75 tomato?
No.
Where
but
people
I wanted.
Will plant tomatoes and they'll just put all kinds of money into it, just constantly.
Okay, yeah.
And then it'll die and they'll plant another one or something like that. And then by the time it's said and done, you got a $75 tomato. I guess, what is it about a damn tomato where you literally are going to hold on to it until the very end and give up everything else that you could grow? Yeah. And I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying people in general.
Because it's my favorite thing to grow.
And look, I'm the same way, though. I was the same way for a long time.
It's one of my favorite veggies and or fruit, whatever.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites. I always feel like I'm fighting against time. I'm hoping they're going to do well. They're doing well, and now it's like, I want all of the tomatoes. It's the reward for, the dirt, sweat, and tears that I put into this thing. But remember, the whole concept of pulling a plant that's still producing, although not optimal, out is, I'm still kicking a little bit. I'm not screaming, but you're still dragging me along, and it's sinking in, right? So, I get that, but to your point of it's a symbol. You've said this before on the podcast. Growing tomato plants, it's one of the number one things that home gardeners put in their garden. It's a symbol of, I believe, a successful gardener. I don't believe it. I believe people believe that. I think that people, because so many people grow it, it's I grew some tomatoes last year, and then, here's your garden badge, right? Don't forget, you still owe me garden badges.
I know. I can take them away at any time, though. Yeah. So I am the controller of all garden badges.
The thing about it, and these shouldn't be virtual badges, just so you know. That's not my expectation. You see this face?
Oh, You want me to show you a picture of my wife's fingertips? She's out there embroidering the hell out of them by hand. There ain't nothing but blood. I had to throw 4 of them out because there's blood all over them. Get your ass to work.
Look, the summer season's already over. That's me yelling to her so she can hear. Look, there was a vision of the bloody garden badge where I was like, this was made with
terrible.
love.
I'm terrible.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah, you are though. But I think where was I going with the whole idea of pulling plants that are healthy?
You don't want to do it. But the thing
I don't want to do it.
So I'm gonna help you out here.
No. Let me go back around.
Finish.
Yeah. So I was actually transitioning to the idea of letting a single plant or vegetable define you as a gardener. It's like bleep crazy, you know? So if this, are you? Yeah. I know. The gods. No,
because I had this. So when I had my last job before, when I was working for the government, and I hated it. I hated it. And I came to a realization at some point early into my career where I was like, this is not what I am. It's not going to define me as a person. And it's so true in a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
So, and even in your garden, like, we don't have to be tomato farmers.
That's so, because we're here. We might as well swim around a little bit.
That silence was golden, by the way, just so you know, there was no accident. There was a purpose.
Got to see the video for it, though.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this. I'm not, and it wasn't tomatoes, it was something else. Because my tomatoes, at this point, I have a surprise. I really haven't harvested, tomatoes yet. So I'm still very hopeful. Most of them look good. I actually have a surprise, good and bad. But anyway, so I'm actually my attention is on other things that I have to keep an eye on. That's a recipe for tomatoes to go, south, but that's another story. And I started to think like, all right, if it doesn't work out, it's potatoes. So this is I'm dropping the hint. I ain't so sure about the potatoes this year. Let me say that. And that said, it's an absolute disappointment. They're not gone yet. I just don't know. They don't look like what I would expect. This isn't even the whole they flowered and now they're dying back, which is the sign. It's not that. But I paused. This was this morning, and I said, think about all of the other vegetables that you're going to be able to harvest. And you'll have to buy potatoes because they are actually potatoes, tomatoes, beans. 3 favorite things of all time. That's my list that I live on if I had to. So I'll just buy potatoes if it doesn't work out. I'll try to learn from whatever happens, or I'll have a bunch of potatoes and it'll be fine. But I said that to say, it's not like I'm going to market with potatoes. It's not all riding on potatoes. It's not all riding on a tomato plant. You got to be able to focus your efforts on what else is in your garden, even if it's one other plant that's successful. Because you don't have a black thumb, because you were able to grow something successful is the thought, right?
There's no such thing as a black thumb, first of all.
Nope.
But we'll get into that later. But think about it this way. Right now, how much are you anticipating getting that tomato? On a 1 to 10, what is it?
7, 8.
That's pretty damn high.
Yeah, it is.
So think about it in the fall when they stop producing, but they're still green and they're not doing anything. And you're like, just one more, just one more, just give me one more tomato. And then in the meantime, you could have a whole garden bed full of other stuff. About dropped a huge F-bomb. So
fill in that blank there. I saw it on his face, right? Yeah. We talk so often, though. I kind of know the past your dialogue goes.
Yeah.
So
you should have interrupted me, but it's like you're just waiting for it. And you could have had a whole garden full of other stuff. So I get it. You know what I mean? And we are like, I don't even know if we even need to be talking about companion planting anymore because we are off the track.
I mean, I can connect it back, but I want to. And we never knew this was going. Maybe you knew it. I didn't know this was going to happen. That we'd be on different sides of a lot of things, and I think that's where we end up. But we do it with love, right? Just because we're two different people, or because I have a garden heart and No? Okay. Anyway,
what's my heart? No. What's wrong with my heart?
You have a love for all things, all other things. Let me say, I have garden patience. Put it that way.
Patience.
Mm-hmm. Which implies, but it's in my mind. Those tomatoes, by the time we're getting to the cooler weather and the tomato plants are there, even when I had one or two, I've really had enough tomatoes, right? Like I could walk away and say I'm done with tomatoes for the season. But I don't, because there's a tinge of it feeling wasteful, right? Now, you paid, even when I bought transplants for tomatoes, I'm going to call it $3 in my area, $3 for a tomato plant. Tomatoes are like on the low end, $3 a pound at any grocery store I go to, on the low end, right? And I can't reconcile that I've gotten my money's worth from that tomato plant. No, that's not where we're at now. We're completely in there's fruit, there are vegetables on this plant. I'm not going to do anything that will allow me to waste those. Who am I to say I'm going to do something and now? Of course, we're not throwing those tomatoes out, but that we're going to let this thing stop producing. Again, it's not as logical, but it just comes from a different place, right?
Yeah, it's not logical for sure, because if you look at it from an aspect of it's wasteful, and you look at the amount of energy that it creates and you're putting into creating this final tomato, when in fact you could be putting that your garden could be using its energy and doing other things as well as you to produce more for what you have. And the whole thing,
more and different.
More and different. I mean, yeah, different, but more collards, lettuce, all this stuff. And you're wasting all of that energy. And look, I'm not trying to convince you or anybody else about my thought process, but coming from a small garden, trying to be productive, this is how I look at it. Yeah. So, I've done this many times where you have 8 green tomatoes on your plants and you're like, damn it, just turn green. And then you're like, all right, that one looks a little bit different today. I'm going to pull it in and put it in the windowsill and see if it'll turn red. And then it'll give the plant enough energy to get the other ones a little bit bigger. Like I've played that game time and time again. And your face says that you play that game every year.
Yeah.
When in fact, all I need to do is go out there, stick a seedling in between my tomato plants. Nothing changes. Nothing changes with the tomatoes. And when it's time, if they're not changing, there she blows. Because you have to remember, tomatoes are driven by temperature.
Yeah.
Tomatoes are so once it gets to a certain temperature, and I believe it's below 50, they're done.
You have what you're going to have, right?
That's it. And the green tomatoes will stay on that plant, and they will stay there, but they will not. And yes,
not as fast as a pace. They won't ripen as fast as they did a month ago, right?
No, because you're going out there, and when they start coming in every day, tomato, and then it's just so you're wasting that energy. So in all reality, even though what you said is not logical, you're actually wasting more energy by holding on to that final tomato.
I don't know why I do it for sure. Go ahead.
I know why. Because you don't want it to go away. You don't want the growing season to end. It's a signal. It's a subconscious thing. And for me, it's like, damn, my tomato is gone. That means that it's fixing to get cold.
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know that that's it. And I'd love to hear from folks, because it's not just, we are not the only two that have ever experienced this, right? We see it, right? So I wonder if it's easier to manage a garden with tomato plants in September or, early October for me. Like you said, I'm not going out there every day. The work is easier.
You don't do shit.
Maybe I'm in a place where it's like, a break, right? I can still enjoy gardening, So I wonder, I don't know, but I'm not committed yet, but I am really, really thinking about, and it may just be because I have so many of them this year. I can afford to make some decisions. I have to babysit this thing through, right? I have to pull a couple of tomato plants and then be okay with it. I'm looking at to be quite frank, I'm looking at my cabbage, and I paid for those plants, right? I'm looking at my cabbage and saying, I don't know, right? You know, like this quite literally could be just wasted space now, you know? So
I agree with that. And I think that's a hard decision to come by, man. It's really hard to do. And I don't know. I have never met a gardener that did not hold on to a tomato as long as they could. Never. Ever, ever, ever. I've never met a gardener who at some point has not done that or does not continue to do that. So, and I am no different. And even though I'm going to plant a fall garden, guess what? You know I'm going to hold on to something longer than I should. So.
Yeah. So right. Wait, real quick. I was looking up.
Oh, real quick. Here we go.
Yeah, real quick. So is it, I'm looking for states that border Georgia in the United States. So I'm going to call it Tennessee because it's a bordering state for Georgia.
Barely, but yeah.
Yeah. All right. If you give me another one, it doesn't matter. But the story
South Carolina.
All right. South Carolina. Fine. So this is one of my early business trips. I'm going to say I was probably in my 20s. And I was flying out to Georgia to meet a woman that was flying in from Quebec, I think. We had never met. We had worked together, you know, and she was going to be trained in our Georgia office, and I was working with the Georgia office, and it just made sense for me to come down there as well. So we met at the airport, got the rental car. We got on just great, right? We were driving. I'm going to say that maybe the office we were going to was like a 30-minute drive from the airport.
Right.
Somehow, we were in the car for like an hour and a half. And we're trying to figure out, like, wait a minute. We clearly have missed our exit for this small little town. And we're on the cell phone with, you know, the office. They're waiting for us so we can have dinner. And we're just driving. And there was a moment, and I reflect on this and refer to it often, where it was like, but we might be right there. Like maybe we're really, really close, you know, and if we turn around now, it could just be on the other side, right? And shit, we're like, you know, 2 hours away from our destination, you know, instead of dinner, it ended up us meeting them there for breakfast or something. And it's so funny because out of the fear of stopping and saying, okay, maybe we've taken a wrong path here and trying to reset led us to be like twice as far out as we really should have been. And change the whole like plan of the evening, right? So when you talk about this gardening thing, you look and you say like, maybe the cabbage is going to be okay. If I take it out, I'm like, I could be just on the other side of this cabbage recovering. But if I take it out, I'll never know that, right? You know, so I'll err on the side of optimism and keep on driving until South Carolina, you know, like, you know, so, I mean,
well,
I
it's
think
like one of those things too, where, you know, to go back to gardening is like, you got to be realistic with yourself. And, you know, because we are talking about fall gardening, cabbage likes it cold. So if it's getting hot and it's not doing good, it ain't going to come back. It just ain't going to happen. That's just not going to happen, Leon. It's going to keep going and going and going. And I just took my cabbage out today and I left it there because I wanted to see what the heat did to it. Yeah. And it made it real leathery and hard. And I mean, like, so this week's been like almost 100 degrees every day. And it was doing okay last week. Okay. And then I came out this week and it's just falling apart. It's like a hard leather brick. It's just, you know, and I knew that it was going to do that, but I wanted to see what it would do so I would know, okay. So like last winter, I planted my cabbage in the fall. I didn't harvest them until spring.
I think the key is you know, be an intellectually honest gardener, right? You know, be honest with yourself because I am forming the message that I want to hear. I planted cabbage in June last year. It was fine. I mean, July is hot. It was fine. But I also know that cabbage never looked like it does right now. There are never days where it completely drooped. We're not talking about even the whole not forming heads yet. We're not even talking about that. We're talking about like this cabbage does absolutely look like a dying vegetable, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm going to continue to fall back on, but June, it was okay in June, right? 1 year of success.
To do that too.
1 year of success. Now I'm kind of risking it all, and I'm sitting in South Carolina, and I should have been in Georgia. But anyway, I say that to say the window for fall is shorter, right? So
especially for you.
Yeah, I think it's important that you kind of have to, pony up and make the decisions, Yeah. Now, I don't have anything necessarily that I'm looking to put in its place right now. So that's the reason why I don't feel like I need to jump out and pull it out now. But
put in early girl tomatoes.
Well, that's a whole. I already got 2 early girl tomato plants. It's enough. I have 15 freaking tomato plants. Stop it. What are you doing?
But I'm saying, if you really want tomatoes, you find something that is going to fit what's going to do. You can't force nature to do what you want it to do. It is not going to bend its will for you. That plant is going to drop deader than a doorknob any second, and there ain't not a damn thing you can do about it when it gets cold.
It'll let you try. It'll let you try it. And boy, will it tell you who's
I'll
boss.
let you try a lot of things to me, but I ain't going to let you know what I'm saying? Like, you can try a lot of things, but it's just not going to do it. So you can't force it. And, I feel like everybody's like, shut up, Ben. But, it's just natural because you've grown those tomatoes for so long. You love them. We've grown those tomatoes since April. February.
April
that's
for
a long
me.
ass time. Yeah, April, May, June, July, August, September, 6 months, half of the year. Those 15 tomato plants that made it out of your 900 are there, and you've taken care of them. You know what I mean? So it's tough. It's really tough.
Think about how many conversations we've had. Not even on
we talk
air.
about this. On air, off air.
Think about how many conversations we've had, and it's kind of like, am I really just saying I'm going to toss it? Now, this is the real test, and we can move on from this after, whatever you'd like to add as well. Yeah. The real test, though, is I'm talking about plants, peppers. I'm talking about cabbage. I have a couple of zucchini plants where I'm like, but my tomato plants are fine right now. In this moment, on this day, they're fine. When the tomato plants, if I have trouble with the tomato plants, the real test is, do I make the hard decision with them? Because it's not the end of the world if I have to pull a couple of cabbage plants or all of them at this stage. Yeah, it was a waste, and I'm disappointed about that. It kind of, it's that whole tone of, it's the whole tone of the cabbage that I couldn't start, yada, yada, yada. But I'm not going to be like, crying in my garden if I don't have it. Tomatoes.
It's a lesson learned, though.
Absolutely, it is. Tomatoes are different. Yeah, tomatoes are different, and I feel different about them. So if I've really learned something, the question becomes, am I able to make the decision about the tomato plant if it comes up? Even, because remember, my whole logic is I have so many of them, right? I should be able to, manage them differently, but we'll see. Hopefully we don't have to make this choice, but if it does come up, you'll have to keep me honest.
If you learn something, let me rephrase that. Learning from your failures is much faster way to learn than learning from your successes. Because you're going to be successful and you're going to be like, I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about that. Yeah. And then you're going to, but once you fail, like this time you failed at your cabbage. Face it, you failed. But guess what? Next year, again, you're not going to make that same mistake. It's not going to happen, And if it does, then you didn't learn. And that's your damn fault. Yeah. And I've done that too.
Give it a try again. Yeah,
I've done that too. So I'm going to a companion planting. I'm stopping this madness right now.
Good luck, because we've talked so much where I didn't check off the ones I've given. I didn't track the ones you've given. So we'll see how many duplications we have here.
I've got hundreds. Don't worry about it.
All right, go for it.
Cabbage and cauliflower.
Okay.
So you plant them next to broccoli, Brussels sprouts, and all that stuff.
I'm certain you already said that.
Did I?
Yeah.
Don't plant them next to tomatoes.
Okay.
So
why?
Worms, cabbage worms. No. I'm sorry. Keep them from your strawberries, but plant them next to them because the tomatoes repel cabbage worms.
Got it. Okay. So
I got that all jacked up in my head.
Okay,
I'm all fired up still.
Yeah, I know, right? Pull out that cabbage now. Pause the podcast. So that's the reason why this is complex. So not only are you managing what you should plant together, what companions, but you also have to keep that in mind to say, okay, what are the foes, if you will. I'm going to keep it easy. I'm going to say, and carrots. And I'm going to go back to radishes again. So these, and I know I haven't mentioned that because they are both roots. And in both instances, you're obviously pulling something, harvesting something out. Same idea though, depending on your timing, your radishes should come up first. You could drop something else in that space because the carrots are much longer when it comes to the timing of it. So that's what I got.
Well, carrots go with cabbage, lettuce, stuff like that. So, I don't know, my eye itched. I'm trying to read my notes. Yeah. So, and the complicated part about what we're doing now is because we're talking about transitioning from summer to fall.
Yeah.
So we're really trying to narrow it down. And there's two ways to look at it too. You can be like, yeah, companion planning, or maybe you just don't worry about companion planning and worry about what fights each other. You know, maybe you can do that. And there's a correct term from that. And I don't know what that is off the top of my head. So, yeah, that's just, that's all I got for that. But, you know, that's something to really think about for that. So,
what do you think? I don't have this on my list, but do you have garlic on your list?
Garlic goes in so late.
The rest of the garden is put to bed.
Yeah, the rest of the garden's put to bed. So the time to worry about that's in the spring.
Okay.
So, and to be honest, I'm not even going to conquer spring right now. I'm not even going to worry about spring.
I'm proud of myself because I've not 10 seconds. I'm proud of myself because I've not jumped ahead to spring yet.
Yeah.
I'm in the moment. I'm in the moment and I'm planning
just taking
for the next.
Notes.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes about what I want to do next year, but nothing big.
Yeah.
So you have cucumbers in the ground.
Okay.
Right? You put your cabbage next to your cucumbers. Radishes go good next to them as well. So radishes really go good around a lot of things, but so the cucumbers radishes will deter cucumber beetles too.
Oh, okay.
Deter, not deter. Deter.
Yeah, I mean, I got it. Yeah.
So, you know, if you don't have a trellising vegetable, which if you're not planting snow peas, you obviously haven't been listening to me. But let's say you don't, and you're going to let your cucumbers, you're going to pull a tomato and let your cucumbers go as long as possible. Put some radishes next to it. And they're also good too because the cucumbers will shade the radishes and the heat. And then you can also get, you know, it keeps them cooler so you can grow them more often.
I read something recently around if it's too hot. So if you don't get your timing right, if it's too hot, things like radishes, and my next plug is going to be beets. They'll end up like just focusing on the foliage. Why would I even say that word? The leaves instead of
foliage.
Yeah, this is a copy and paste it because we've had that exact same interaction before here. But instead of producing the root itself, right? You know, so you again, hence these are cooler veggies. They like cooler weather.
Well, remember too, if you're going off of my recommendation, I'm saying plant these early, which should be about the time this is coming out if we've timed it correctly. Yeah. So it's still warm and these things are still in the ground.
No, well, that's this is the crux of the problem and the reason why I think it's so complicated. Because when you think fall garden, you think I think some people think, what are you planting in the fall? And that's not it, right? You know, there's some things you may plant in the fall, but I'm talking about, I'm going to put things for my fall garden in the garden in August, right? You know, and for sure at the end of August, September, you're getting closer to the start of fall. But I think that sure it's hotter, but the sun isn't out as long. Excuse me. It's hot. It's still summer, but the sun isn't out as long. By the time these veggies get to the place where they need that kind of less heat, by the time they get to that growth space, then you're going to have those cooler temps. So that's the reason why the timing is so important. That's the struggle that I've had, because I've thought about a fall garden. If I tried it for the first time last year, I thought about it 3 years before that.
Yeah.
So beets. So I have beans planted, like bush beans. Okay. And I'm going to plug in some beets around those bush beans. I think that's my plan. I have to look at my notes.
Okay.
Fall, baby.
I just searched garlic. Mm-hmm. And here's what I got. Garlic plant. You can plant cabbage. That's about the only thing that comes up. You can plant cabbage, but keep it away from peas and beans. Key. It deters Japanese beetles and aphids.
Wait, what? Say that again?
It deters Japanese beetles and aphids.
Garlic does?
Yeah. So, okay. But the thing is you're harvesting it. It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, this aphids for sure, but I don't even want to say it. I feel like I shouldn't say it. Like I think maybe I'm over the... don't say it.
No, don't say it.
I'm still struggling with Japanese beetles. Let's say that. Yeah. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that maybe I'm over the hump. We're not going to say that.
You want me to put it simply for you? Shut up, Batavia. Don't do it.
I know. Jinx yourself.
Yeah.
All right. So you get another one?
Yeah, I got more. Peas.
My next one.
All right. Do you want me to take it?
No, go for it.
So peas, you can plant them next to when I say peas in this reference, I'm talking about snow peas.
Yeah.
So you can plant them next to beans, carrots, corn, cucumbers, and all that stuff. But don't put them next to garlic, like we just discovered.
Clearly. Yeah.
So
the reason why I like peas and cucumbers, because again, your cucumbers are winding down in most cases by the time you're coming back around to plant your fall veggies like this. But in some cases, not all, you may have done some vertical growing. So if your cucumbers are growing up something, right?
I hope to God you're growing your cucumbers up something.
That sounds so dirty.
It does. But I'm just saying. I hope that you're trellising your cucumbers.
If you have a trellis for cucumbers, no, I mean they're plenty. I mean, if you have the space.
Have you ever grown a tomato without a cage or a stake?
I've grown cucumbers that weren't vertical. I don't think I've ever grown a tomato plant without a cage or a stake.
I had an ex-girlfriend a long time ago, and she had decided she was a hippie, and she decided that she was going to do a garden with no interference from man and let nature take its course, except for weeding.
Okay.
And she planted tomatoes, and son of a bitch, it was insane. I was
everywhere.
Just like, you couldn't even get the tomatoes out. You know what I mean? So and that's not even really a vining plant. So then if you take a vining plant like cucumbers, I guarantee there's probably somebody listening that's like, I don't use a trellis, and good for you if you don't, but I don't get it. You know what I mean? It was insanity.
For years I grew them, and it's just a messy business. They're sprawled all along the ground, and
it's such a headache. Such a headache.
Yeah.
So if I could trellis without making hammocks, watermelons, I would. But I can't trellis.
I'm trellising watermelons, and I have like my itty bitty baby watermelon, the first one that I've seen. I'm hoping that pollination goes well. But I'm thinking about gosh, there's a lot of risk when it comes to, doing the hammocking method.
It's a pain in the ass is what it is.
Don't want that melon to fall. Yeah.
It's just a pain in the butt.
Luckily, I have some smaller varieties though. So I'm hoping that helps my effort. Still have to do the same thing. Still have to,
Yeah, that should help.
I'm actually putting out the call. I've already started it to, family and friends. You have some old t-shirts. Remember the whole remember the Marie Kondo book?
Yeah.
So
KonMari method?
Yeah, 2 years ago, or 3 even, I went through the whole downsizing. And the only thing I got through successfully with that was clothes. So I had all kinds of t-shirts that I threw out. And it's like 3 years later, I need them. No, I have a couple of folks that are routing some up for me.
I did that whole thing. I threw away so much stuff. It was crazy. Wow. Did you go 3 years?
I don't know. Was it my go?
I stole your peas by accident.
Oh, beets. So
you did beets.
Can I have another beet?
Oh, yeah.
I said, I think I did go. Anyway, let's say beets, and I'm going to just drop lettuce in there just as a filler. Did I already say that too?
Yeah. Any particular reason why? I don't know.
I don't know that there is a benefit necessarily when it comes to those companions, but I know that they play well together.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about kind of disease. They have, I think, similar lifespans when it comes to timing. So beets are not, I've read in some packages they're semi-hardy. They're not hardy, no. At least not the beet root or beet top, I should say.
The beet top's not. You grow them for the beetroot.
Yeah, the beet top.
The beet top that's like a benefit of having it.
Yeah, a bonus. Yeah. But again, those things they're gonna go to the waysides once it gets cold.
Yeah. So if you have again bush, I keep bringing up bush beans because I feel like they're pretty popular. Mm-hmm. And they're a quick sower, so you can plant, get. Swiss chard plays well with that.
Oh, it's a really good suggestion. Yeah.
And if you have kohlrabi, Swiss chard goes with that too. So, but again, not to be confused that we are talking about you're growing these full bore at the same time. One's winding down and the other one is ramping up. So
yeah. So Swiss chard has actually a pretty short. What did I drop seeds? Like whatever that day was, we were talking and it was just about to rain. So that may have been like mid-June. So maybe
that was a month ago.
Gosh, that was a month ago.
Yeah.
So I definitely have your favorite baby chard.
What? Oh, you're growing microgreens?
Yeah, no. The plants are just smaller.
Okay. Because my Swiss chard never grew. It always has stayed the exact same the whole time.
Okay.
It didn't grow, didn't die, didn't move, didn't do anything. It said, yo, playa, I'm just going to chill. I ain't going to do nothing. You going to feed me and I ain't going to move. You going to water me? I ain't going to move.
That was one of the first things that I direct sowed a couple of years back. And so I actually grow it because it's so easy to grow. I mean, I enjoy it too, but it's so easy to grow for me.
Yeah. So
all right, I got one more.
Oh, you came up with another one.
Yeah. I don't think we've talked about this because I know I always have a pain in my heart when we do. Kale and cabbage.
Yeah, they go together well. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go and I have a little different one thing to do now. Is I'm kind of going to talk, a lot of people are growing carrots and a lot of people grow dill.
Oh, okay.
And did you see a common theme about how they came up, those, carrots came up a lot in the companions?
Oh,
I don't know if you picked up on it or not.
Yeah.
Well, and that's because they attract beneficial insects. And one of them would be the praying mantis. Oh. So they attract the praying mantis. And what does the praying mantis do?
Eat all of the other ones that aren't good for us in our gardens. Yeah.
So, that's kind of like an example of because I mean, you can go through these things and we can literally be like, carrots and cabbage and then spend an hour talking about what they do and don't do with each other. And then an hour later, we have to be like, all right, everybody, wake up. We're going to the next one.
Yeah.
So, but it's, I wouldn't, this is kind of my thing is I don't get real hung up on like what the companion part is. Like what does it do?
Yeah.
I know that it's a companion. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't.
In the instance of if I have trouble with a veggie and I'm looking for some, like, okay, next year I want to plant this thing, I may research, like, you know, how, good example, Japanese beetles. I haven't done it yet because here we are. I have some remedies for it, but I want to try to figure out, can I avoid some of this next year? You know, so I would research.
Because they lay their eggs in your dirt.
Yeah, well, it was an example, you know, but I
looked
to see.
Example.
I know. Damn them. But I looked to see, like, okay, so what plants, what natural way, what through my garden can I plant that could aid, you know, the whole goal of getting cabbage this year?
No, and that's the I mean, that's such a great way to look at it, is what can I put in my garden to grow to, because if you had problems with it this year, more than likely it's going to creep up unless you do something about it. It's going to creep up again. So you know, it's like vine borers. Well, like I got the vine borers. I pulled out one. I don't know if you saw on Instagram today.
Is that like the vapors? Is that like the vapors? No. Okay, sorry.
No, it's like the grub that I pulled out of the middle of my and it was in my butternut squash too, which it's not supposed to be in. And I had to cut off half of my butternut squash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But you know, so that being said, if I don't do anything about it now, then it's gonna come back next year, and it's gonna continue to come back. So it's like, what can I do? What can I plant? What can I change? And by looking at these beneficial insects, which for that one are not beneficial insects. Well, yeah, beneficial insects for that, but for this one, it's not that. It's, you know, there's not really companion planting for that, but it's the same way of looking at it. So I'm trying to think. I can't think. Okay, so let's say you plant what is something that's just super nitrogen rich, that just takes a lot of nitrogen out of your soil?
Aren't things like
lettuce?
Things like collards and
like
cabbage
that.
And stuff.
Yeah. So all of that stuff
out.
will go in. And you know, if you planted there before and you're having issues, then you plant peas the next year, and then that's a nitrogen fixer
to rebuild that soil.
Or doing a cover crop, for instance, and that's just something small. You know what I mean? So there's all these different ways. So don't just worry about, like, I got to get a chemical, I got to treat it. Like, there's something that you can do, you know, like we've shown with the cabbage moths and stuff like that. There's these companion plantings. Most of them are for cabbage moths. They deter them. Yeah.
And that's when it comes to your garden, it's just one more lesson in patience. So there's quick fixes we're talking about, but there's also the longer wait for a thing.
Do you want to know what I have to do tonight when my wife gets home?
I already know what you're going to do.
No, you have no idea what I'm going to do because I haven't told you.
All right. Let's see. Let's hear. Now, what are you going to do?
I have vine borers, right? And so I get them every year. And I pulled that one out today, and I was like, no more. I'm done. So I went and I got some BT.
Oh, okay.
And I'm going to inject it into my zucchini with a needle. I'm going to inject it.
Okay.
And so it will kill them off.
Yeah, didn't think that.
See, that's different, but it's organic. Method.
Yeah.
And I'm using it. So, but see, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's different things to do and all this stuff. So, and I know it has nothing to do with companion planting, but that's just something like in my life right now that I'm dealing with.
Yeah. But the whole idea of companion planting, again, it is to benefit your garden. Right. You know, in a lot of cases, it is to ward off something else. I mean, it's in the same family of what we're talking about. Yeah. You know,
but I mean,
it's always about, doing things to give you the best chance at success. So,
yes. And that's what we want. We all want to be successful.
Yeah.
And we all have problems in our garden. Every year, I've never met anybody that had a garden that went perfectly.
Yeah. Me either.
No issues at all, Yeah. I've had aphids like 6 times. I've had vine borers twice. I have Japanese beetles. I had powdery mildew earlier this year, and I'll probably get it again. These are all things that happen. So I didn't have cabbage moths, and I didn't have cabbage moths, and I planted I believe it was broccoli and cabbage right next to each other, and they are not good for each other. And they were like touching, and I didn't really have any issues.
I think that, I think it may be area, like, the cabbage, you don't see the cabbage moth in your area, I would guess either, right?
Yeah.
And it just doesn't stop at your plants?
Guess not.
Oh, wow.
But there's all kinds of things going on, though. You know what I mean? Like, I have not had them yet. You see the key word?
Yeah,
I say that,
yeah.
and then I come out in the fall, and there's riddled.
Check your mail.
Yeah.
Special delivery for you.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's just kind of how it is. So,
yeah.
Again,
it's like the Japanese beetles. I've told you, I've never had them before.
I never had them until last year. Mm-hmm. Never in my life. I had never even seen a Japanese beetle. Mm-hmm. Like an actual, I've seen June bugs, which a lot of people call Japanese beetles, but I'd never seen them before.
Yeah.
So,
I'd heard about them on the news, right? But, here we are.
And then the plague of locusts that I had last year, the grasshoppers. You know what I mean? Like, never, ever in my life had I ever imagined that would be an issue.
Yeah.
And damn if it wasn't an issue. Yeah. A huge issue. It made Japanese beetles look wimpy. Awful.
We don't control a lot of these things, and that's a part of the realization I hope you come to. Yeah. Not you, because I know you already know. Yeah.
So beneficial companion planting, and let's put it in a nutshell. Use it to combat your insects and your diseases and fix your soil and be happy about it.
I got one. Plant friends, not foes.
There you go.
You don't invite the people you don't like to the same party, right? So
yeah. You know what I like about companion planting, though, seriously, and it helped me this year, is it gives you a jump start on your planning of your garden, because you already have a kind of like a small blueprint.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, I got this cabbage. What should I put next to my cabbage? Okay. I got my tomatoes. Like, what can I put next to my tomatoes? Yeah. Oh, I put my peppers next to my tomatoes. Oh, wait, I put my peppers and my tomatoes, but watermelon goes with tomatoes, so that's good. Squash goes with tomatoes, so that's good. Basil, and then you can kind of go around like that.
It's like part 2 of a movie.
It is. It is. So
I was really sitting on that one. I was anxious to say it. Sorry.
You were.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let it land. All right, where are we at? Oh, snap.
Yeah.
You know what time it is? The recipe of the day.
I ate earlier when we were going to do this earlier, then we pushed it back, and I'm so hungry now. So this is great. Let's do it.
Then you better have a good recipe for everybody.
Of course I do.
This episode is proudly brought to you by San Diego Seed Company, a company that is dedicated to providing organic heirloom varieties of seeds for your small urban farm. That's right. You heard me. You are a small urban farmer. You provide food for your family and share with your neighbors, and they are dedicated to providing you with the best seeds for a bountiful harvest. Check them out at sandiegoseedcompany.com or on social media at, you guessed it, San Diego Seed Company. We're banking that today is Batavia's day, just so you know.
I'm excited about this recipe, so it works out. I have a special surprise because I have a recipe that is not my own, and a recipe that I've not actually made, but I have enjoyed so much so where it's earned its space here. So a dear girlfriend of mine, Lanissa, shout out to Lanissa if she's watching this episode. We stumbled across this because I was sharing my garden last year, and in okra in particular, and she mentioned an okra salad. And you know what? I'm not going to be apologetic. If you don't like okra, you've listened to an hour of us. All right, go on your day and have a great time with it. But if you're an okra fan, this is for you. So it's a raw recipe. I'm going to list off the ingredients. I was pulling it up earlier on my phone to make sure I got it right. So it's okra. We highly recommend red onions versus, white or yellow. But if that's all you have, that's all you have. yellow peppers, sun-dried tomatoes, dried cranberry. Those are going to be your main ingredients. You're basically chopping this up into bite-sized pieces. So for your okra, and I'd say, I wouldn't make this with less than 10 pieces of okra, 10 okra pods. So you're chopping up your okra in maybe an inch thick circles. Put it in a bowl. You're going to chop up your red onions. I like them actually in slivers. She's made it before for me and like just chopped finely. Either way works, all your preference. Yellow peppers, again, I'd go kind of thin with those bite-sized pieces. Sun-dried tomatoes, you can chop them up if you want. It's all your preference. And then the dried cranberry, I'd say about, a quarter of a handful, because you want some with every bite. Dump them all in a bowl. Drizzle some olive oil on it or whatever oil, because you want this to kind of get, marinated a little bit. You want things to be able to move around. Get it? Okra, move around. Okay. And
that's pretty bad.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty bad. Yeah. Then season it with some cayenne pepper. So keeping it fresh, got a little bit of a kick there. The great thing about this is you can sub in so many things. She actually used to make this with corn, but she's moving away eating from corn. So now she uses yellow peppers for the color. So this is one of those, it's almost like a garbage salad. If you got it in your garden, start with the okra and just add a bunch of things that are going to complement the flavoring. So
I love garbage meals.
Yeah, I actually have a super low budget video on my YouTube channel where I'm eating this okra. Like it's like a minute or something. It was so good I had to stop, turn my camera on to film it because she dropped it off for me one day last summer. And we're actually plotting and planning because my okra is starting to come in now. And yeah, it is very close to my favorite way to eat okra now. So there you have it. Okra salad, raw okra salad. If you got it, you'll try it. Promise me you'll try it.
Did you try the watermelon and avocado yet?
I promised you I'd try it.
Did you try it?
I actually didn't promise you.
You did promise me.
I'm promising you now, but I haven't tried it yet, but I will.
I'll think about it. I just got my 2 first okras, so I'll think about it. I'm not a big okra raw fan. I like okra a few certain ways, but I'll give it to you. I might try it. Once you try mine, I'll try yours. How's that?
Fine.
Oh my gosh!
I'm not gonna pout.
I am a sucker.
Only because it's okra, and I understand how some people feel about that. I'm gonna assume that anything else I say, please try, that you'll try. So I'm gonna give you an opportunity to take a pass on this okra salad. Although I'm gonna be disappointed.
Well,
I'll give you an opportunity. Yeah.
First of all, Batavia,
I'm going to send you a picture of it because it looks so good. I have it on my phone. It looks so good. I really am stalking my okra. Just listen. All right, don't try it then. That's fine.
This is Batavia. I'm not going to pout when in fact she had just gave me a pouty face.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it wasn't
shoulders, body language, all of it is pout.
It wasn't even on national TV. It was on international TV. She did this. So
you know how you want someone to enjoy something, you enjoy it so much you want that for them. This is it. Like I feel like this could bridge so many troubled people. Like
I will try it. I will try it. No, seriously.
I was just bamming too. All right.
If I have a way to try raw okra that somebody says is good, I will try it one time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I will try it another time. And that's it. Like I ate raw asparagus over the winter. It was amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. If you
never would have guessed it before.
It's a texture thing. That's the only reason why you're going to have pause if you have pause, right?
If it comes out slimy, I'm done.
Well, I mean, it's less slimy than when you cook it, if that's the way you like it.
I like it fried. I like it like in stews and stuff.
It's totally slimy. I love it slimy too. But
somebody gave me some boiled okra one time, and it looked like a bowl of snot. And I was like, "There ain't no way in hell I'm eating this, man." And they were like, "I was like, what'd you put in?" They're like, "A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper." They're like, nah, try again. Was it my
grandmother or my grandfather? That's the only way I ate it growing up.
Oh, the only way I ate it was fried.
Black-eyed peas, some boiled okra with some cornbread.
fry the okra, and we have the same meal.
Oh, it's
with
so
some
different.
collards and some hot sauce on it.
It's so
Good
different.
night.
Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to convert anyone to boiled okra, but
No,
that's the
you
only
can't.
reason why I grew okra. The only reason.
Really?
When I started growing it a couple of years back was to be able to boil it. And then I started coming across other recipes. So anyway, I just...
So, anybody that wants to be a co-host, if you want to reach out to me, I'm at the Backyard Gardener, because we don't do boiled okra here.
I am okay with leaving on this note. You have to draw a line in life, and this is it. You may not like it, but do not disparage me for loving it.
No, I support your love for okra, and I can't do the stunt.
Yeah,
I can't.
Hold on.
I'm
sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely
It just reminds me of it. And now that we have the whole coronavirus thing, I'm like, am I eating a bowl of coronavirus? Who knows?
No.
It's, it's just, of all the vegetables, that one has the worst texture at times.
Yeah,
I think.
I totally get it. I'm really glad that I actually enjoyed a part of that texture.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because I like boiled food. I like boiled fish and like a lot of boiled boiled cabbage, and we eat boiled potatoes all the time. Just boil them straight up.
Yeah.
But I guess in your house you do things different.
Clearly.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're companion planted for fall. Kind of
done.
I know we haven't given definitions of why, and to be quite honest, it's because there's just so many different definitions.
Yeah.
I think that what we need to walk away with is just be happy, because I did a lot of research on it, and I've done a lot of research beforehand, and for me it's like, I know, and I keep going to tomatoes and peppers, I know they go together, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
I know that one repels the other, but I know that when I did that, my bell peppers, I pulled 7 off the other day. So they're doing better than they've ever done before the past 2 years.
My plants, man, that's the advice. I don't have peppers coming off of them yet, but my plants look great. That's another story.
They look great.
Yeah.
Are they next to tomatoes?
Yeah. Remember, I got 88 tomatoes and 222 peppers.
But isn't it crazy though? Have you grown bell peppers before?
Yeah, but never
Did
near
they look
tomatoes.
as good?
The plants,
Did they look as good?
No, and that's the reason why
right?
I was actually planning on them not doing well. That's why I started so many of them. Because I felt like all right, 2 peppers off of this plant. And
I remember
off of that plant.
You didn't believe me.
No,
clearly,
I don't have any harvest yet, so the jury is still out. Like where you are with square foot gardening. Well, I'm actually a couple of steps ahead of that. I'm more of a believer in this pepper and tomato. So the other bed, though, has peppers in it, hot peppers in it, and it doesn't have any tomatoes. It's kicking butt, too, but,
I want to apologize for everybody whose eardrums Batavia just blew out.
Did I take it up?
You started high-talking me. You went up a couple octaves. But, no, I stumbled across that. Mm-hmm. I was like, and then I just noticed, I was like, holy crap, they're doing so much better. So, I don't know. It's just, it's worth a shot.
I'm okay with not knowing either.
Yeah, whatever, And I think that's the beautiful thing about, I'm going to be straight up. I think it's the beautiful thing about this show is we don't need to have a full-blown explanation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, take it for what it is, I can't get hung up on that shit, because I'll be like, okay, if I really dug into it, I'd be like, okay, the carrots attract the praying mantis, and then I go crazy. I'll be like, but what if the praying mantis runs out of things to eat? Oh my gosh. Well, then I better put something in it, or what about this cabbage moth? I can't get praying mantises to come in the wintertime, and it can just, you can get down
if you
really
have one
hole.
Vegetable or 2 vegetables, then you can really dig in deep and find out, all of the permutations. But once you get 3 or 4 vegetables in your garden,
yeah. And I think you should really focus on, instead of the pests, I think it's the diseases. Mm-hmm. That's that's one that we haven't talked about a lot. And it's a tough one. Diseases are a tough one.
Yeah.
They can, and I feel like a lot of times when I'm trying to diagnose something, I'm like, Yeah, it's got yellow spots and it's got rings around it, but my plant last year had that and didn't look this way. So, like, did it have like a slight case of, Vercillium wilt or,
and Google image search in that situation is not going to be helpful.
It didn't do shit. It didn't do a damn thing for you. You're sitting there Googling it and you're like, okay, that could be that, or maybe it's just not getting enough sunlight. And it's like, I don't know. So diseases are very hard, and funguses and stuff. So I can tell you all about some damn powdery mildew.
Yeah. That's one of your favorites.
No. You'll be hearing me complain about it soon. So, all right. We're good?
I think we
got heated on that one. We got heated. I liked it.
Listen.
It was exciting.
Listen.
Our friendship just went to a new level on this conversation.
We've just crossed over a different kind of milestone, right?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Our next milestone for the show is 25,000 listeners, but for our friendship, it was getting an argument on air, and we did it. And we're smiling.
Yeah.
I don't even think we were really arguing.
I don't even remember what we were arguing about, but I know my voice and my, body language changed quite often.
I know that if I was sitting next to you in person, I would have been backing up.
Yeah. If you were sitting right next to me, which you wouldn't be because we social distance, but I would have there would have been an elbow or two. I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure you would have kicked me or something. It would have been crazy. Love social distancing sometimes.
All right.
All right, good people. We're glad you joined us. PSA, wear a mask, save a life. Be friendly, be kind, get out in your garden, get your companion plants ready for fall. I know, fall. Don't hate me. Don't stone us for anything that we've said today, because you never know. And until next time, learn to grow for change.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to us today. If you want to follow us on Instagram, you can find us at Backyard Gardens Pod, and we share gardening tips and clips from the show, and we would love to see your gardens and share them with everybody. So if you want to join us and you want to share your gardens, feel free to use the hashtag BYG Podcast. And if you want to see us on video, you can find us on YouTube at Backyard Gardens, where we have the full show and clips and all the recipes broken down for you. And until next time, learn to grow and grow for change, and we're going to call it a wrap.
Now you know why people feel like celebrating at harvest time.
All over the world, people have feasting and good times when the crops have been gathered in.